Good evening, viewers. And once again, I welcome you to Talk Back with Gillian, your Sunday evening TV program where we take a look at trending political issues for the past week here in Guyana. I am your host, Gillian Burton Persaud, and I'll be with you up until 20 hours this evening. Well, what's happened over the past week politically? We'll be looking at the issues of the commemoration of the 71 years for the Enmore Martyrs. Kemraj Ramjatan has won the challenge and is now the new AFC leader and prime ministerial candidate of the coalition. Ghana's president visited Guyana and sacked Air Jamaica staff dissatisfied with the Labour Department meeting. Business minister warns about negative social media posts about Guyana. The GNNL staff writes to President Granger to cite Sherrod Duncan as a bully. Letters rescinded for the terminated public service management employees pending investigations. GECOM chairman expresses no confidence in legal officer. The CCJ to hand down its decision on the no confidence motion and GECOM chairmanship this Tuesday. And the Junior Minister of Finance, Jai Paul Sharma, has been reassigned to the position of Junior Minister of Public Infrastructure. And so those are the issues that we'll be looking at this evening. But before we get right to our issues, I want to wish all fathers across Guyana a happy Father's Day. Today's Father's Day, and I wish all fathers a happy Father's Day. Our quote for today is, "The quality of a father can be seen in the dreams, goals, and aspirations he sets not only for himself, but his family." The quality of a father can be seen in the dreams, goals, and aspirations he sets not only for himself, but his family. So that's a quote with relevance to Father's Day. Well, we kick off this evening's program with the fact that on the 14th of June, we observed the commemoration of the Enmore Martyrs, those 5 sugar workers that were slain at Enmore during a protest strike in 1948. And those 5 gallant persons were Suraj Bali, Rambaran, Lalabaji, Hari, and Puran. And they all lost their lives while protesting for better wages, better working conditions and benefits, and better living conditions. They were slain by the colonial police at that time. And so from then on until now, we continue every year to observe this great sacrifice that were made by these Enmore martyrs. And on June 14th, or last Friday, the People's Progressive Party Civic held its usual public meeting in commemoration of that event, the Enmore Martyrs, and we had addresses that were given by representatives of Gawu Fitag and the presidential candidate for the party, along with the General Secretary and leader of the opposition, Dr. Barjagdio. And these were very moving addresses that were given, and the turnout was very good. And so we did pay our homage, and at the morning, the wreaths were laid at the gravesite of those 5 men who sacrificed their lives for betterment of the working class. And then yesterday, about 3 weeks ago, I spoke about the Moses Nagamutu Kemraj Ramjatan challenge for the prime ministerial candidate that would have been coming up. Well, that challenge took off yesterday, and surprisingly, despite all what we heard that the current Prime Minister, Mr. Moses Nagamutu, was going to be re-endorsed for the prime ministerial candidacy position. Well, it had a twist. And after all the fiasco that led up to that conference yesterday that was held at Vizelus, we saw Kemraj Ramjatan, the Minister of Public Security, was voted in not only as the leader of the Alliance for Change Party, but also as its prime ministerial candidate. And Cassie Hughes is the deputy leader. David Patterson, Minister David Patterson, is the general secretary of the party. And we have Raphael Trotman, who is the chairman of the party. We don't see Moses Nagamutu, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu, anywhere. So Kemraj Ramjatan, Minister of Public Security, is now the prime ministerial candidate for the AFC, for the coalition. And he campaigned on the premise that he offers decisive leadership, that he will be pivotal in helping to negotiate the coalition which brought the AFC to government. He will be resourceful. He's resourceful in attracting funds for the party. He's ready to energize the AFC from grassroots with a dynamic team. He's a man of integrity who delivers on his word. And he is strong on crime and the security of the nation. Well, that is so funny because we all know that from the time Mr. Ramjatan was appointed the position of Minister of Public Security, with all that was said on the campaign trail about crime and how he was going to solve crime, we haven't seen anything positive coming out from that area. So to put that on a campaign strategy, that he's strong on crime and the security of the nation, that should not have been there anyway. That's a no-no, you know, because under his watch, we had 2 prison fires, very severe. We have a lot of crime going on, and we're not seeing, despite the changing of commissioners of police, we're not seeing anything that is happening positive within the area of crime. We're still seeing a lot of serious criminal activities taking place, to the extent where the U.S. State Department had to put out an advisory to persons coming to Guyana to be very careful of the violent crimes, as they said that it seems that the Guyana government has no control over, the police don't have any control over, they don't have any positive actions. They're unprepared to deal with the situation. And so we see Minister Ramjatan putting that there, you know, that he can deal, he's good on that. Well, you know, you say anything, you know, to think. As a matter of fact, that was shared to the members of the AFC. So, you know, they might have taken it with, you know, a pinch of salt or maybe a spoonful of sugar and let the medicine go down. But Kemraj Ramjatan, Minister Kemraj Ramjatan, is now the prime ministerial candidate for the coalition. We haven't heard anything coming out from the APNU, who is the senior partner in that coalition. You know, we like to hear their thoughts on that. And he's also now the leader of the AFC. Then we have the Ghana's president visit to Guyana. What did we get out of that? A lot of persons were wondering, you know, the Ghana president, he's coming, he had a state visit here. What was he bringing to the table? What would we have benefited from that visit? As a matter of fact, he stayed at a very Marriott that the government was to transform into a hospital and a shelter for the elderly and the homeless. But, you know, things have changed. All the activities today happen to be at the Marriott. And during his state visit, he had talks not only with government, but with the leader of the opposition. And there was a MOU that was signed, removing the need for visas for Guyanese and Ghanaians to travel from their country to our country, and we from our country to their country. So there has been the removal for the need of visas. But then when somebody did a calculation, it takes 600,000 Guyana dollars for the airfare for 2 weeks to go to Ghana. And you have to do 3 stops. If anyone is an in-transit flight, then you have to wonder if you have to get a visa for that country. So not many Guyanese visit those countries, you know, but there's a removal of the need for the visa to go to Ghana. And also they offered assistance in the oil and gas sector. Well, it seems everybody is up and about Guyana's oil sector. The finding of the oil, and it's supposed to be from 2020, so everybody wants to get in on a piece of the pie. But we keep asking, what about Guyanese? What about us Guyanese? What's there for us? We're hearing about all the monies and the profits from the oil. What will it do for us? We already have bad deals that have been, signed that needs a bit of fine-tuning. It needs to be done, and we're not hearing about it being done. We have Guyanese who are capable of doing things. But everybody wants to get in on it, so everybody has their eyes now on Guyana and the oil that should commence flowing from 2020. And then we had the incident where the sacked Air Jamaica staff had a meeting with the Department of Labor. And they went and they stated that they were dissatisfied with the way the meeting went. As a matter of fact, nothing as it relates to them having their severance and monies owed to them was being discussed. What was discussed was information that was taken from them with a possibility of filing a lawsuit in the courts. They didn't hear about any relief. And as they stated, many of them stated, they have bills to pay. They have things to do. They need their money. Those in Jamaica, the Jamaica government has taken on the responsibility of paying their outstanding monies, but they're not hearing anything for Guyana. They thought when they went to the Department of Labor, they would have, gotten some real tangible words, but they have gotten nothing in that line. They were also a bit dissatisfied about the fact that there was really no preparations for the meeting. They were standing around the office in little groups at the Department of Labor there on Brickdam. And to top it off, they thought the minister would have been there to speak with them, and the minister never turned up, even though they were given the heads up that the minister would have been there. They were invited to the meeting by him. It was the staff that they had to deal with. Well, that tells us so much for labor in Guyana today, as the ministry was reduced to that of the department. It seems everything that has to do with labor has gone down. Everything for labor has reduced. There is nothing really tangible happening for workers in Guyana and the working sector, So they went there and nothing was done. I do hope that they will get some kind of relief, because everybody is suffering and they need their money. They have bills to pay, They have outstanding bills and debts to deal with. So that's so sad that, they were called to that meeting and nothing tangible happened. And then we have the Minister of Business, Mr. Rajkumar, who sent out a warning about negative posts being placed on social media about Guyana, and that it will hamper tourism. Well, what is really happening in the tourism sector in Guyana? That is a question I keep asking as someone who shadows tourism in Parliament. We're not seeing anything happening for Guyanese as it relates to tourism. And we're not the only ones. Social media, the world over, everybody minds everybody's business as it relates from country to country. And the stories are out there. People are reading it. So Guyanese don't have to put it out there negatively. It's already out there in a negative sense about the crime. And when travel advisories from countries have to come out, it's worldwide. People read and they know. It seems as if the minister is using a strong arm there, trying to scare Guyanese, give you the fear frenzy factor kind of treatment that, if you dare say anything bad about Guyana, there will be consequences. Come on. A person's Facebook page is their Facebook page to put what they want on it. And persons should not have to be afraid to say something bad about the government. If the government is doing good, you say good. If they're doing bad, you say bad. It's not a dictatorship style that we're having. We're talking about democracy, and we're talking about freedom of speech and freedom of expression. And those are the fundamental rights under the United Nations Declarations of Human Rights. And so if something is going wrong, you have the right of a citizen of that country to say what is going wrong. Nobody needs to frighten you about saying what is wrong. How would we know what is not appreciative by our citizens? The very citizens that we go to for in elections, for them to vote for us, and we want them to work with us. When they express their views, now you're saying that you shouldn't say anything, you must say everything that is good. That is hypocrisy. And I think the minister needs to rethink that position of saying, you know, that things are should not go out of Guyana. But if things are bad in Guyana, it's bad. We're not getting the good life that we're promised. So persons have to speak out about it. Last week we spoke about the reinstallment of the former GNL General Manager, Mr. Sherrod Duncan, by the Prime Minister, and the fact that 3 board members and a 4th person has now joined by sending in their resignations because they said that the decision to dismiss the then General Manager came out of a board meeting. The minute the Prime Minister was saying, no, that was not, due process was not served. Well, after Mr. Sherrod Duncan turned up for work last week, staff members of GNNL wrote a letter, an urgent letter to the President, Mr. David Granger, asking him to look into the matter, to get involved, because it's not that they had anything personal against Mr. Duncan, but the fact that his ways of operating, his attitude, his managerial style was that of a bully. He was bullying persons around the place. And so they felt very uncomfortable with that factor. And because of that, they were not happy with him being reinstated. Then after that, we saw where the director of the Ministry of the Presidency, Mr. Joseph Harmon, he came out and said that despite the fact that the Prime Minister reinstated Mr. Duncan, he remains dismissed because they're looking into the matter. Well, you know, one does not have to wonder why Moses Nagamutu was removed as the Prime Ministerial candidate for the upcoming elections for the AFC, because it seems whatever he says, it's always overturned by somebody from the government side, from the APNU. So he says one thing, he makes a decision, and then a heavyweight from the APNU comes and says, no, that is not the case, can't happen. So he doesn't have that clout, that authority to make decisions as a Prime Minister, you know, and that is why persons will be dissatisfied, you know. Never happened before that a Prime Minister's decisions are being upturned every time he makes a decision by someone of his colleagues from his coalition party. So that was upturned and Mr. Duncan remains dismissed. But the fact that employees have to say that they're dissatisfied because your actions is that of bullying, it's sad. And it speaks volumes for managerial style. If your employees are not satisfied with the way in which you manage the entity, there will always be problems, and you know, persons will not be comfortable. And earlier we read where we were informed where some employees were saying, well, if he came back, I'll go, because I can't deal with it, because he's micromanaging the agency, you know, taking over the editorial department and the persons who have to do the work to set the press to get the work done. Micromanaging, it seems to be the style of persons within the government sector of Guyana today. Fit and proper. Now, we also have where the matter with the public service management. Last week we spoke where the new minister, just 3 weeks within her appointment as the new Minister of Public Service Management, she sent home an entire department the personnel department along with the accountant. And they was told that the ministry was moving in a new direction, and so their services were no longer required. A personnel department, your services are not required because the ministry moving in a different direction. One would feel that you need that department so that you can get the information and the staff and their ability to perform in the new direction that you're going. But instead of that, they were sent home, the keys, the locks were replaced, the minister was the sole person in possession of the keys. You know, bullying again, we're seeing there happening. We talk so much about bullying in schools and our young people bullying each other, but it seems we have governmental bullying taking place in our country today. Well, that minister said that it was because of the ministry moving in a new direction, but it was stated around in public domain that it possibly had to do with the fact of information that came out about monies that was given to Minister Broom's children in their account. And then we heard that that money was for scholarships. And since then, we have heard that the Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency is saying that they will not only investigate that, the persons that were sent home, they're going to investigate the fact that former Minister of Youth, Culture and Sports, Frank Anthony, that his daughter received some monies for scholarships fund. And it was noted that that was a scholarship fund because of the child's high level of awards at not only CXC but at the Cape level. And that was something that was set aside for those persons who excelled in that area. And the monies would have been paid directly to the university. But what it is now being contended, what scholarships was won by the minister's children and which university it was paid. It's not normally to go into your private account. So that's a whole different matter. And the Director General is saying that he's going to investigate. The persons who were terminated, the letters of termination have been rescinded since then. And what has happened is that they're now on administrative leave pending the outcome of an investigation. Then the GECOM chairman expresses no confidence in the legal officer, the legal advisor to GECOM, Miss Excellence Dazzle. And that came out after the fact that they're saying that the information that should have been submitted to the CCJ, as it has to do with the GECOM chairmanship and the no confidence motion, it was not done. They were given the impression that that officer did send off the information, but at the hearing they were embarrassed. The information was not submitted, and so they had time to get to do it. And also the fact that some information would have been given to the opposition commissioners at GECOM, where the legal officer was saying that they did not need to have a house-to-house registration at that time to proceed with general and regional elections. Well, it was felt that she was very hypocritical, She deceived the government side by giving out that information. We heard that no one person can make a decision in such an area. It has to take a collective, including the chairman. And now the chairman is coming out to saying that he has no confidence in her. So it seems that they're about to part ways with the young lady. She has not given any comments on the issue as yet. And then we look as we look at the GECOM issue, Tuesday, the 18th of June will be the day at 10 o'clock when the CCJ will hand down its ruling on the two matters of appeal before them, the one with the unilateral appointment of the GECOM chairman and that of the no confidence motion. So all Guyana is, very much on tippy toes waiting to hear Tuesday what is the decision of the CCJ. Well, the government has said it will abide by the decision of the CCJ, and the leader of the opposition has also said that he will abide by the decision of the CCJ. And at that Enmore Martyrs meeting that was held on Friday, he did say, but I've noticed in the media that, some persons are trying to put a twist on it, that he said that the PPP will take to the streets based on the no confidence motion ruling. What the leader of the opposition did say is that if it goes in our favor, it means it will be an early election, and so there is work to do. We have to hit the streets and do the work. If it is not in our favor, we have another year to elections, and we still have work to do. So it's not in the premise that the PPP are going to call out its support base to come and picket and demonstrate and cause obsession in the country if the decision is not in the favor of the PPP. No, it's that there is work to do. The PPP is a mature party with mature leaders and has never had the insight of wanting to incite racial conflict and segregation and violence. There is always the decent way to do things. You don't have to jump out there and fight and burn down places and cause confusion and cause injuries to persons and, have persons fatalities. And no, there is a better way. If even we protest in a very quiet way, a very orderly manner, and let our points be out there. Let our views go out there. So I do hope that, persons will not be in a position where they feel that the PPP is rearing up strife and disturbance and division, racial division and racial disharmony. We're not about that. We're about peace. We're about progress. We're about prosperity. Because once there is peace, there will be progress. And once there is progress, there will be prosperity. And it will be continually. The Junior Minister of Finance, Mr. Jaipal Sharma, has been reassigned to the position of Junior Minister of Public Infrastructure. And he now takes over from Minister Annette Ferguson, who is now the Junior Minister of Housing within the Ministry of Community. So we see another minister shifting around here. We now have to have all eyes to see who will now be the new minister, Junior Minister of Finance. This government is increasing in size. It's swelling as the days go by. You now have director generals of ministries and, you have senior ministers, you have junior ministers in every agency, you have so many advisors along with the permanent secretaries. You're asking yourself what's taking place. We have an overload of, leaders in managerial positions in the government. Lots and lots of managerial and advisors. But we're not getting anything done. We're still at that pace where we're going at a snail's pace. One would have thought that with all these advisors and all these ministers, junior and senior, we would have been at a Usain Bolt pace going. We would have been flying. The good life would have been on us by now, and we would have all been enjoying it, but it's not happening. Well, so we had lots of issues here that we looked at for today. I'll now open up the phone lines on 223-2459, 223-2459 to take your calls here on Talk Back with Gillian. So you can call us on 223-5429, 2459, sorry, 223-2459. And we're ready to take your calls here on Talk Back with Gillian. As we look at the many issues that is happening, we still have the continuance of blackouts across our country. And in the news today, we noted that the government is buying power from Giftland. They've already signed that agreement at cabinet level, and they're in discussions with the bank's DIH to have purchase power from them. Well, just imagine the government is purchasing power from the private sector to power the country. That is something, for us to think about, that, we're unable to look ourselves. And I do hope that they remembered that you had the Amalia Falls would have been finished by now, and we would have been getting cheap electricity. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you tonight?
I'm great. Happy Father's Day to you.
Okay, thanks to God bless you for that. Thank you for that. Very well, yes. I'm getting a call from Hibernia on the Eskimo coast here.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Bobby Shan.
Okay.
Yeah, I listen to all your call. I listen to all your things and so on here. But I would like to say, manners make it man.
Mm-hmm.
If you have no manners, you cannot get no respect towards them. And I would like to say, happy Father's Day, but to all the fathers then. Like some of them fathers have been abusing for their daughters and and sons and so like that. And I like that. Okay, could be going on to though. But he can understand here, but we don't know what's going on here with this country here. I've got president here, Robbie president was adorable and thing and so on there. But that man respect himself. And and Granger, and you got Harman, and you got what the man would do. They manners and respect they carry on this country here. They have manners for us, they can't talk to people. They come and over here last week or the other, and pull the people again there. What you want and what you want, they fulfill the promise here. And live for the second time. So I have only here, we not get it pushed up by the water. And then they like to, only like the street that in Hibernia alone.
Mm-hmm.
That is not like it here. That is not like all the other neighborhoods that is like it here. Because the really white, the late Jagan has come here and his wife, and all of us come here because we each other here. And not, they want to understand the potash is here. In Escubo here, Hibernia village alone.
Okay.
Yeah, this kind, and let me tell you here, we never do the election. And coming here, we go win again. And now all the people is here, if I come here for run this country, Ghana go to mud, to nothing.
Okay.
Ghana go now, maybe Green John, so all the man, go to loot that, then all the fall inside here.
All right, thank you for your comments.
The man can nothing, good, thank you.
Thanks for coming through. And that was our first caller there expressing his views as a Guyanese and how he feels. And our next call is coming through. Thank you for calling and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Good night, Gillian.
Good night.
My contribution is that when Mr. Williams went and do his mathematics, I don't know if he went behind the school when the teacher was teaching the math. And
well, I won't be able to say where he went.
And next thing, with Mr. Ramjatan, he is the minister of Turkey, and now he wants to be prime minister. He can't see he work what he supposed to be doing. What you can see with the prime minister position. Because he look in Tokyo and he go in London. He can't see what's happening in Guyana.
Okay, well, thank you for coming through. Well, Mr. Ramjatan has been voted in by his party to be the prime ministerial candidate for the coalition. And, we'd like to hear your thoughts on that. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Hi, good evening, Gillian. How are you?
I'm good.
I agree with you. I have noticed there's an overstaffing in most of the ministries and places.
You need to move away. Maybe you're by a window or something.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes, I have noticed there's overstaffing in plenty in the ministries. The ministers have secretariat and things like that, right? Now, the point is having all these staff, and still there's poor productivity, and there's not an increase in programs and things like that for social ills. So I don't understand why you're having all these people and you're paying them a salary, and people seem to neglect their roles and responsibilities, or they're ignorant, or they don't know there was a roles and responsibility. So it's about people want a position and use salary and they're not doing their work.
Yeah, but when you have the positions, you...
Having all 4 or 5 people doing one job,
No.
and there's poor quality of work and nothing is being done. Thank you.
Thanks for coming through. Well, you see, it's one thing to overstaff a ministry, but the next thing is that you have to have policies and programs and projects for people to work on so the lives of, our Guyanese citizens can be better. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Yes, good evening, Ministerial. How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, we always enjoy your program every week. And I just want to say that I don't know what's going on. Since in time, we never paid so much light bill. Our light bill comes 12,200, and we have very poor people living in here. And you know what, Miss? They are not coming to read your meter. They're estimating you. How can that be fair? In PPP time, I never paid so much light bill. I don't know what's going on.
Well, you have to pay VAT on electricity now,
I know.
God, so that will carry it up.
Yeah, but even to that, we pay 7, we pay 8,000, and we have the same equipment. So I can't see why the light bill just jumped so high. All of a sudden, last month we paid 9. This month we did
Well, that will happen because they're estimating, so you can estimate anything.
But I don't know why they're not coming to read the meters so that we can pay our normal light bill.
Well, it makes maybe the work easier for them.
Okay, but I always enjoy your program, and I want the election to come on because we want betterment in our country.
I know all of us need to see that.
Yes.
Well, thanks for coming through.
And you have a blessed evening.
You too. Well, that is what happens when bills are estimated. You get different figures, and they estimate based on the fact of your appliances that you have in your home, Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Hi, good night, ma'am.
Good night.
I want to ask you if the PPP has a plan to put party politics to an end in this country. Because party politics has been practiced since I know myself as small by now, over 60 years now. I want to know when we're going to put an end to party politics.
What do you mean by party politics? Give an insight.
Party politics. Party politics is of friends and family. When I go in the next week, man, or next month or next year, you're going to be okay. Don't take trouble, my friend. Everything's going to be all right when I get in here. When are we going to put an end to that? We do not have a problem in who run this country, whether it is PNC or the PP. We had a very good time under Desmond Hyde government, which was the PNC.
Mm-hmm.
And everything was going nice. And today the PNC is the worst government we ever had.
So don't
Along
you
with the
think that it
ANC.
should be the PNC also you should be talking to about party politics? Because I noted you mentioned the PPP. When
Yes,
the
I
PPP will
mentioned
bring an end to the PPP?
Because the PPP also practice party policy. Politics.
You feel that way?
Yeah, I've experienced this, man. I'm about over 60 years old. And this is what I'm experiencing all the time in my life.
But
You
I
know,
know the
thank you
PPP
very
that I
much.
know
Okay.
is not about party
Thank you.
politics. The
But
PPP that I know is about your skills and your ability to do the work, and that is where you are being placed. I don't know about the frenemism and the nepotism that you're talking about. Because the fact that you're given the kind of insight that it's so rampant and it's so overwhelming within the PPP. That is why you mentioned the PPP's name. But let us look today at what's happening at the government level.
Listen,
Mm-hmm.
It happened before, it's happening now with all the government we ever had in this country. It's not only the PPP.
But maybe you have a different interpretation of what party politics is as against what I have.
Well, you set it out now then, and let the people in this country have think about it also, what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Good?
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Good. Thanks for coming through.
What?
Sorry, brother, he got cut off there. But, you know, when you talk about party politics, you know, it gives the notion as if you're talking about, you know, it's a collision that happens, you know, all the time. But it takes political parties to contest for elections and to win. And there will be some kind of policies that you are guided by. But if you're going to talk about nepotism and friendism, you know, and favoritism, that's a different story as against what you're talking about, the party politics. So I do hope, that is why I asked the caller to ensure that, you know, he gave the right information that he was trying to put over. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian. Okay, we lost that caller. It's now 19 hours 42. We have some time here to take your calls here on Talk Back with Gillian. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Where you come from?
Okay, well, we seem to have someone there who had a bit too much for Father's Day already, you know. So we're having that kind of, it happens, you know, so happy to be around. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Yeah, good evening. How are you tonight?
I'm good.
Well, what I'm calling to let you know.
Mm-hmm.
When the lady was, what must I say? The thing that the lady said just now, what party politics and stuff, what was the word she used?
They said party politics. She was.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what is need to happen? I think we need another party. Get rid of the PPP and also the PNC, because both two of them is just a one-sided party. Because you sitting there right now, if you go in, let me say, certain part of Blackbush poll, and you tell them you are a PPP, they might say, no, you're not. And if you're a Negro and you go somewhere in Buxton or somewhere and tell them that you are, you know, if you're Indian, then that's what I'm trying to say. And you go and say, I'm a PPP or PNC, they might want to say that. So the whole story about it, both two of them need changing.
I don't feel changing the two parties. You're open and you're in your right to say yes if you think there needs another party. But that will not solve the problem. What we have to become is mature-minded politically in Guyana. And stop looking at the color of a skin or the texture of a hair, looking at race and say, this race, once you're this race, you belong to this party. And once you're that race, you belong to the other party. That has changed. And it needs to change more.
It's still there, madam. It's still there. Because
when I say it's changed, you have persons.
I had a first-hand experience with what it's saying. You and your Indian friends would live nice, and soon election time meet and you fall out.
Yes, well, we know about that, and that is why I'm saying we need to be political
what
mature.
I have to say, it doesn't matter whoever you put there, you find they're not satisfying you because there are forces that work in those in high position of power that you and I know nothing about. And the real power is not up, and it's done is within inside of us, and we need to make that change first.
I agree with you.
The PPP and PNC is two things, a Kulima party and a Black party.
Well, we need to change that mindset.
The PPP will take, they might get on, because the Negroes got this bold thing, they're going to put them up there now to talk and try to see how much they could bring in. You know, and it's just a two different parties. And I know you have some man else may want to talk, but I think everybody needs to go on their knees and pray.
Because
Okay.
PPP and PNC is just bagger, and the oil money got to them more bagger because everybody want the oil. Everybody looking for power. What they need is to change their mind, pray to God, and do. And what I want to say, I see Granger is doing what is right because he's trying to straighten up the country. Like some people say too much of tax. If you left here now and you go to America, you pay tax sometimes, you step out. And it's tax what runs the country, and in the PPP time, there's a lot of called.
The fact that I agree, yes, that we need to be politically mature and don't look at a person's ethnicity to decide in our minds which political party they're supporting. It's bad. And people continue to talk, you and everybody, as we say, dealing nice all the time. And the minute there is a call of general elections, everything changes. We need to be different. A person has the right to choose, a right to associate with the organizations that they want to, and they should not be afraid to do so openly. They should not be prevented from doing so. And we see a lot of it happens from time to time. But as it relates to the fact of taxes and taxes run a country, yes, you have to pay taxes. But in a country as Guyana that is now developing, you need to have programs and policies in place that even if a person has to pay taxes, there are ways in which they can be able to garner the necessary finances to pay those taxes. But you don't have anything coming in. Everything is going out from you, going away from you. And that is where, I think that persons are, it's being felt very, very hard by persons to deal with that. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Good night, Gillian.
Good night.
What these callers saying so far, I do appreciate it. But let us face the fact. We cannot get rid of the PPP and we cannot get rid of the PNC. What we need to do is stop looking back. Let me find a way. Let these parties tell us what they're going to do for our future. We don't want to put 23, 28 years no more. Let me talk about the future. What I have planned for the future. They're not claiming that it was a body with and mobile and this body and all type of people with the ideas. Let us come together so we could solve that and make it right. And let this nation get mature and be one and move ahead and stop this fighting that is on. When you look at the PPP party, it has Afro-Guyanese inside. When you look at the PNC party, it has Guyanese inside. And the Kuli can live without the black, and the black can live without the Kuli. So we need to stop this nonsense, hold hands, and come together as one. Regardless who rule, let them rule for the whole country and not for this type of people or this other type of people. We need to get mature, and I don't care what they're claiming, that Indian and black, we belong to Guyana, we Indian and black is Guyanese.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to come together and understand. The more we fight with one another, we will never get mature and the country will stay just how it is all the time. We need to come together. The PPP in opposition need, if they see something looping, tell the party government. If the PPP in power and the PNC likewise tell them. And we will move forward like that.
I agree with
and
you.
move forward fighting one another all the time. We won't get anywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, Julia.
Thanks for coming through. And thanks for your comments. Yes, those were positive words from that caller there. We need to be politically mature and stop, doing this race-baiting kind of thing, because we both have to live in this space that we call Guyana, and we both need each other to work. And if something is wrong, we have the right to say that it's wrong. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
I just called to make a comment about the police force in Guyana.
Mm-hmm.
Police force is very weak in Guyana. I was there by Lombard Street every day, and the police just stopping one or two persons who look to thing, the sergeant them, and then when they stop some of them and they start holler for them and so they allow them to go away. I know there is police job. The sergeant for weed and them thing, and when they start row up with the police, is get some that riding motorbike, bicycle. When they're rowing with the police say, you go on, you go line your way. And I ain't get a camera phone, I get a chip phone, or I would have video it.
Okay.
The police just allowing these guys who walk away would just holler for them or give them a little mouth.
Well, maybe the guys that shout on them have their, have their support base.
It's coming from top, like the minister would have said and go as prime minister, there is a waste to me. So he can't run the police force. I know what he can do as a prime minister. I wish if I could reach you personal, but I do come and give for mine. Thank you.
Thanks for coming through. Well, maybe the persons that the police stop and, they shout on them, they know that they can shout on them because, they know that they are in good stead with persons, in high offices. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Good night, Gillian.
Good night.
As they are saying, Mr. Ramjatan is running for the Prime Minister candidate. I wonder how he would make out because I'm a fish vendor every morning when I go out on the road to go to sale. The police always telling they buy them and they stop the minibus or the car. It's either left or you're right. If you don't give them a race, drink their coffee in the early morning, you got to give them a $2,000 for don't right. So I know what he can do when he can tell the people them how we can talk to them. He first of all he got to take paper and watch the talk. Wicked, Comrade Bar Jagdeo will just stand up on the platform and he talks. So Mr. Jagdeo don't have to go back to school. What I think Mr. Ramjatan have to go back. The only thing I'm seeing this government doing right now, make it arch you hang yourself, make it overhead walkway where you go jump down and kill yourself. The education system, we never pay $5,000 to go to secondary school when I was a child going to school. You never paid $2,000 for kindergarten. No?
You're talking about the fees that you have to pay.
Yes, for enroll.
Enrollment.
Then the assignment for the grandchildren, oh my Lord. I don't know, we ain't getting no backup. You're meeting old age yet for getting pensions. And I don't know how the children will exist in this country education-wise also. The next thing is that it's every poor corner, if we find some of we women standing up, trying to sell something to get an honest dollar. Because the money what the husband is working, it can't even do. And they're saying in the government, we're going to give a better tomorrow. I ain't seen no better yet. All we're seeing is that I'm getting gray hair, and I don't know what's going to happen. What you really need to change is it. And I wish the PPP come back because why? Nobody ain't got to hungry in this country no more. Thank you.
Thank you for coming through. Well, the fees, the enrollment fees, lots of persons cry out of it whenever the new school year starts, and it's very, very hard on some persons because remember, lots of persons would have lost their jobs. Good evening and welcome to Talk Back with Gillian.
Hi, Miss Gillian, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Okay, the caller is right. We do need to be mature. We do need to work together because the foreigners are in the wings waiting. And we do need to keep them at arm's length. We need to be very wary of the contracts we sign with them. I think also contracts that were signed since December 21st, most of them should be null and void. As well as where tourism is concerned, the first ship that came here, I think it was the first ship, someone's robbed from it.
Yeah.
You know, what does that say about Guyana? I lived and worked among Caucasians for a very long time, and they only have to hear about one crime here, murder or something, and they're not going to come. The only people that will come here are the Guyanese people.
Who coming back home on holiday?
I'm sorry?
Who are coming back home on holiday?
Yes. Yes, tourism, I don't see it happening for now. And as I said, we do need to keep an eye on the foreigners. All the time, nobody was interested in us. Now everybody wants a piece of the pie.
I know.
The last war that was started, we need to keep in mind, it wasn't about ammunition. The U.S. did not start a war, Iraq war about ammunition. It wasn't. So with the oil coming, we have to be very vigilant. We have to stop fighting. We have to work together. Another thing is it allowed, since it's taxpayers' dollars who are paying maybe 5 people to do one job? I've never seen so many ministers in my life and so many people working under them. It's like 5 people doing one job. It's the taxpayers' dollars.
Yeah, we have a top-heavy government. We have a top-heavy government.
Yes. I hope something, I hope we will come out on top. And I'm hoping to see a bright future in the near future, a bright Guyana in the near future. I'm not sure exactly what I'm saying here. Anyway, you have a good evening.
Thank you, and thank you for coming through. Well, that had to be my final call for this evening because we're coming up to program time here on Talk Back with Gillian. It's been an evening where we had lots and lots of calls. We had lots of persons expressing their views. I will re-endorse the fact that we need to be politically mature. And, as we have this CCJ ruling coming up on Tuesday, I want to ask all Guyanese to put yourself in that frame of mind. Do not allow yourself to be riled up by persons with vile motions. Do not allow yourself for persons to put you in a frame of mind of wanting to become violent and that kind of thing. We have to deal with the process. As again, I repeat, the leader of the opposition said, if it goes in the favor of the PPP, which appealed it to the level of the CCJ, we will have to hit the road to do our work. If it doesn't go in our favor, we still have to go on the road and do our work. That's politics. That's political activism. You have to keep the persons informed. And it was because the PPP Civic was on the road and was going out there. That is how we knew the cries and the pleas of the people, what was bothering the people, how they were suffering, to be able to bring a no confidence motion, as it is, to the parliament, which was passed. And to the level after that ruling from the High Court was overturned, it went to the Court of Appeal, which overturned it in the favor of the government, and so it was appealed at the level of the CCJ. It's now there. And come Tuesday, we will know what those learned-minded judges, what are their views on it. So not only Guyana is watching, the Commonwealth is watching, the world is watching to see what that decision will be. But in the PPP, we're saying whichever way it goes, we will abide by the ruling, but we know we have work to do anyway. Whether it's for an early election or if it's elections next year, we have work to do. And so when we say we're going to take to the streets, we mean that we will be there, out there, as we continue to do with the people, talking with them and getting their inputs. I'll close with an excerpt from Dr. Barjagdio's presidential inauguration speech in 2001. And it says here, there is much more still to be done to enable our people to live a good life. The level of poverty must be further reduced. Our people must enjoy peace and security. Every family needs to be adequately housed. Every person in every nook and corner of Guyana needs to have affordable health care. Every child must have a good education to prepare him or her for a creative and fulfilling life in the technological age. Our young people must be provided with jobs and other opportunities. Our elderly must be cared for. Our workers must receive better salaries and improved working conditions. We must attract more investment and support the expansion of our private sector. We must continue the rebuilding and expansion of our infrastructure, and we must preserve our national patrimony. Those are excerpts from Dr. Barry Jagdeo, now leader of the opposition, his presidential inauguration speech in 2001. This is where I must take my leave of you for this evening. It was nice for you to have me in your homes. I'll be back next week with another program of Talk Back with Gillian. Until then, do have a safe week. Good night.